This ingredient, it's killing your hormones, it's making you out of balance, it's throwing you off, for eczema, for little kids, for everyone. You don't realize that some of the things that you're eating are making you sick. Sugar could be hidden. Hey guys, things that I've been hearing that I feel like are not talked about, because I guess sometimes we're ashamed of telling other people. You're talking with your peers or people around you, you realize that there's a lot more people suffering with this kind of issues than we realize. And I'm gonna touch base on just like hormonal imbalance, because that's something that I was dealing with, and maybe many of you guys are also dealing with something like that, and maybe it's something different that's going on with you. If you want to understand what's actually affecting your energy and your health, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. Like, I don't know, like any kind of symptom you have with your stomach or sleep disorders, you name it, like there's a bunch of sicknesses. You guys might know some more. You guys could comment down below some of the things you guys are dealing with. Sometimes we don't realize that far more people than we think are suffering from things like that, and there is one thing that is making all of us sick, and we don't realize that it's really important that anything that we're eating and putting in our body is making us sick when we don't know what it is that we're putting in our bodies. I'm not going to be going into every single detail today because I would just not be finished. It would be hours and hours of me just blabbing. Things that are making you sick is your food, the perfume, shampoos you use, the clothes you wear, the things you use to cook, and what's another thing that I could think of right now? Because almost everything makes us sick and we don't realize it. But everything that we're like breathing, like candles, you name it, like everything is making us sick. And sometimes it's as simple as swapping one thing for another. And an example that I could give you guys is like an apple. Let's say you buy an organic apple versus a regular apple. They're not the same thing, and you might think they're the same thing, but honestly the pesticides that get sprayed onto the apple that's not organic is making you sick, because those pesticides, your body can't handle them properly, or not, they're not supposed to be there. So your body like kind of gets freaked out as to what is that. We've gotten so used to like eating so many food that is like contaminated like that we haven't realized that we shouldn't be eating that in the first place. For example, grass-fed meat versus meat that is not grass-fed is making you sick, and you don't realize that like the nutrients that one and the other has are very different. And then also like ultra processed food is also making you sick. And what do I mean by ultra processed? I don't just necessarily mean because you're eating out and eating at restaurants. I also mean like things you buy at the grocery store, like enriched flour, or anything that has an ingredient that says enriched flour, anything that has ingredients that have been through a process. You don't realize that some of the things that you're eating are making you sick, or they're giving you a hormonal imbalance. Sugar could be hidden, not necessarily that you're putting a bunch of sugar. Your body makes it into sugar, and sugar goes into fat. And I feel like that's something else that a lot of people don't really know that. Or like a potato will also turn into sugar in your body, and it's a carb, and then the carb will make you gain weight, and then your body just stores it as fat, and then you don't realize why you're having some of the issues. Or you think that you woke up in the morning drinking your coffee with like the sugar, the little sugar you added, and you don't realize that the creamer is full of additives and things that are also not supposed to be in there. But I also want to teach you guys how to read the labels so that you know which creamers to pick, so that you know what things to look for and what things not to look for. And at first it's going to be a little intimidating, but trust me that I'm going to teach you guys, and it'll be easier for you guys to figure it out. I'm going to be going along with you guys and helping you guys. And if any of you want to message me privately, feel free to do so. I have different social medias. Usually my channel on YouTube is Vibes by Mariela. And on my social media, you could either find me by Vibes by Mariela or Mariela. Me a message or a comment. For me, it'll be better if you write a comment and then tell me, hey, I send you a message over there. I'll reply to you guys, and I'll try to help you guys a little more like personal, like person to person, because I honestly want to help people, because I don't like to hear when people say that they're feeling sick, that they're not feeling good. And to me, it makes me feel some type of way, because I've been there and I know it's not fun. And trust me that you'll get through it. Like before you know it, you won't even realize time passed, or you'll feel like you're the best version you've ever been. And I feel like that's something that no one could take away from you. And at first it's gonna be, I'd say, hard to try to transition from one thing to the other. And I don't recommend you to go cold turkey like I did. I recommend you to take it more like priorities first, and the first priority is the food that you're eating, and then you could move into like other stuff. Some of the labels could have hidden stuff and you don't realize that you don't understand what they say, and the reason that you don't understand it is because you're not supposed to understand it, because it's not supposed to be there in the first place. Most likely that's making you sick. Make sure that your eggs are pasture raised, because they have a lot more nutrients and vitamins than your regular eggs, and that will help your body a lot, to try to adjust and level itself out. Like I was mentioning, that it's not just necessarily for hormonal imbalance, it's also for other sicknesses that you have, because a lot of the sicknesses that we all have are linked to the food that we're eating or the ingredients that are in there that are being bad for us. So I just want to make an emphasis on that. Also, another thing that I want to say is, don't ever quote me on anything that I say. Do your own research. I do my own research. I read a lot. I'm here to help you based off what was wrong with me, but I also want you to listen to your body, because there's nothing better than listening to your body and what your body is trying to tell you. This ingredient is it's killing your hormones. It's making you out of balance. It's throwing you off. For eczema, for little kids, for everyone, that ingredient shouldn't be in there. And that ingredient is chicken bouillon. I'm gonna repeat it again. Chicken bouillon. Those big bottles, the little like paste things, those have an ingredient that shouldn't be in there. So I felt like I was gonna get hate about saying the stuff about the chicken bouillon, because I feel like everybody and their mama and their grandma is cooking with that. That's what we were taught with, like nobody taught our family or our grandmas that ingredients were bad. And honestly, you could believe me or you could not believe me, but if you do your research and you go to the back of the chicken bouillon and you see the ingredients that it has, you'll see that what I'm saying is true.
The food industry has been hiding the truth from us for decades. They've been putting ingredients like chicken bouillon in our everyday meals and telling us it's completely safe, but it's quietly affecting our bodies in ways we don't even notice. They market it as a flavor enhancer or all natural, but most people don't realize it contains additives that can disrupt your hormones, cause inflammation, or even trigger headaches,
making us really, really sick.
I have alternatives on how you could swap it.
I feel like if I take it out, my food won't have flavor, but trust me that that's not the way it is, because what gives it flavor to your food is natural ingredients, or like whole food ingredients, which would be like your garlic, your onion, your salt. And as long as you have that, you outweigh the options, and you realize that the flavor is basically the same, and you're adding an extra ingredient and you're wasting money on something that you shouldn't even waste in the first place, trust me that you're just gonna realize that you just want to toss it out. So I want to talk later on more in depth about how it's bad for your body also to be putting so many like spices and condiments in your food, because that is also making you sick. That's something else, we'll talk about that more later on. Once you get rid of all the nasty ingredients that you're eating right now, then we can move on to like taking out. So we'll teach you guys how to make your own broth. So if you want to have broth like to add to your soup or whatever else you're cooking, or the recipe calls for a chicken bouillon, then you can substitute it. Like if you really, really want the chicken stock, they have it at the store. They have a brand called Kettle Fire. That's a really clean one. And the only thing I don't like about that is that it's really high in sodium. I also like to watch out for my sodium, because that's something else that I also will hit on later. But honestly, I'm not that mad at sodium as I am mad at additives.
There's more to this. Part 2 coming soon. Follow me for more daily wellness vibes, and remember to be gentle with yourself.